Hello, ECE 240, and welcome back to our class. We are now in week 12. In week 12, we're actually working on two different chapters this week. Chapter 11 is working on self and identity, and chapter 12 is focusing on gender. Let's take a little rewind here and look about the first 10 weeks of this class. The first 10 weeks of this class really worked on cognitive development, brain development, how to support brain development, the different theories that support brain development and development overall of a young child all the way to our teenage years and to our adult years. Last week, we kind of made that transition of going more into how our environments then influence our actual development. Last week, that was emotional development, and the word of the week for last week was attachment, and how critical having that strong bond with an adult is very critical for children to have a healthy emotional development. Now we're moving into a different part of the social influences into our development, and that goes into our self-identity, and gender. So let's go ahead and get into week 11. And when you get to your blackboard, one of the things you'll see is I have two handouts for you guys to read and to look at. And when you click on that, it says, print these two handouts on healthy self-esteem. And the first one is on praise and encouragement. The ultimate goal is that we want our children to have healthy self-esteems. We want to have healthy self-esteems. We want to be positive about ourselves. We want to ensure that we can be successful. And one of the biggest ways we can do that is by having healthy self-esteems. How do we support children to have healthy self-esteem? Well, that's what this handout's about, by a professor at Columbia University. And she says one of the ways that we can do that is knowing the difference between praise and encouragement. And a lot of times we find ourselves giving children praise, just saying, oh, good girl, good boy, way to go. But what we really need to do is to encourage our children to have that self-worth, that self-value, to then eventually really have that strong self-esteem. So how do we do that? How do we inspire with courage and not give these judgments of praise? It's tricky. It can be hard. We're so used to giving praise to our children, saying, good job, here's a sticker. But that's what this form is about, is ways that you can recognize children and give them encouragement. Here's one example. Perfect, you did it, good job. That would be praise. Those are things that we want to try to get away from. And if you really want to get into giving positive encouragement, you can say, wow, you really gave it your best. How do you feel about that accomplishment? How does that make you feel? There's a little bit difference there when encouraging versus praise. So I want you to look over this and challenge yourself when you're interacting with children to do less praise and more encouragement. And these are ways that we can support children's identity and also their self-esteem. The second handout I have is called 10 Ways to Support Children's Self-Esteem. And this is a great handout that we have here. Let me see if I can get that to open up really quick. 10 ways. So that's going to open up as a document, a Word document. It's an article. And so it talks about 10 ways to build your child's self-esteem. It has some great ideas, some things to focus on to ensure that children, our lives, have that identity, really have that self-motivation, self-esteem to allow them to be successful. What we need to do is basically pay attention. This article starts with, we need to teach limits. We need to allow mistakes to happen in children. as well. We need to listen well. We also need to provide encouragement that attaches to that previous article. So I give you these two handouts for you to really challenge yourself and think of ways of how you can encourage self-esteem of the children you interact with. And these are two great articles here that can help you accomplish that and help you really support children to have that strong identity, but more importantly, that self-esteem. I also, when we're going into gender now, one of the things I want to bring up when it comes to gender is a term called gender stereotyping. What is gender stereotyping? Well, it is, think about this. Boys have to wear blue. Girls have to wear pink. We bring up these, and gender stereotypes come from our culture, from our environment, from where we live. There's so many things that impact gender stereotyping. And it's really interesting how these two chapters really connect with each other when it comes to identity and gender. What I have for you is some really great videos that I'd like you to watch in order. The first video is on self-concept and self-esteem. A great little small video there. Then the second video that's right underneath that is Meet Yourself, a user's guide to building self-esteem. A really good video, a really interesting video that's really worth your time to watch. The other interesting video then switches into gender stereotyping, and it really have you understand the impact gender stereotyping makes to our children. Look at that third video called Primary School Children Reveal Reality of Gender Stereotyping. It really is gonna impact you when you watch this video. We start gender stereotyping from the day kids are born. Think about this. I'm a dad of 3 girls. When my girls left the hospital dressed all of them in pink little onesies and pink little beanies. If they were boys, they would have had blue. So we do a lot of things around gender stereotyping. Even this past Christmas, buying Eliana, my 4-year-old, a bike. You can pick a boy's bike and you can pick a girl's bike. And of course, the girl's bike are pink, light blue, Frozen, Minnie Mouse. The boys' bikes are black and green. We do this from day one, and there's many influences on gender stereotyping. The video below that is Hear Kids' Honest Opinions on Being a Boy or a Girl Around the World. And I really want you to start thinking about how your upbringing, your parents, your grandparents, who raised you, how they influenced your gender development. Who told you what girls do, what boys do? Did they influence your gender development? The last video, the last two are great videos as well. The second to last one is what kindergarten taught me about gender. And the last video, Save That for Last, is a funny video. I want you guys to laugh, have a good time with this. And it's Jimmy Kimmel talks to kids. What is the difference between a boy and a girl? It's kind of the honest, raw truth of what children believe the difference is between a boy and a girl. And you can get a good laugh out of this. And with all the laughing that you'll kind of get, I really want to bring you to a conclusion around our two big concepts around this work, this week. The first concept really is on self-esteem and how do we support, encourage self-esteem within our children, with those that we work with, to have that self-worth, that self-value, to believe that they can accomplish whatever they can. One of the ways we do that is that we need to have that ourselves. We need to have that self-esteem ourselves to be able to support others as well with those two handouts that I gave you. And then I really want you this week to think about how gender stereotyping has influenced you, who you are, how it's influenced our business community. We're still at a place that jobs, professions in the United States give more money to males than females. A perfect example is the biggest lawsuit that happened was the women's soccer team, who's won the World Cup over and over again, getting paid less than their male counterparts who have not been as far in the World Cup as the women-female team. So there's a lot of work that we need to do, but first we need to identify what is gender stereotyping, and also how has it influenced our development, our thinking, and so these are the two big things that I have for you this week. How are we going to break up this chapter? All right, so after you watch the videos, what you'll see is your discussion is on gender. And this is what I want you to do for your discussion. How do you think your parents influenced your gender development? How do you think your peers influenced your gender development? Did your parents and your peers influence any gender stereotypes? Okay, so when we talk about peers, your friends, people in your community, your parents, those who raised you, let me know. There's no wrong answer here. The biggest thing, though, is let me know how they influenced your gender development, and then B, did they actually have a role in any of the gender stereotyping that you might have and your beliefs that you have? Go ahead and post your questions and then respond to a classmate. Then your chapter quiz is just on chapter 11, and that's going to be on self-identity, the self-esteem. So chapter 12 is your question of the week, your discussion, and then your quiz is just on chapter 11. So that's how I kind of smash those two chapters together, and giving you an opportunity to work with both chapters in 1 week. My friends, this is a great chapter, a great opportunity to see through the eyes of children, to see how we as adults are influencing children through self-esteem or even their gender identity. This is all about the social influences that are impacting and supporting our development. I'm really looking forward to reading your discussions this week. And also remember, I'm also looking forward to grading your iSearch paper. And then let me just go over here. When you go to OBS iSearch, your next observation is actually due on the 12th as well. So this week you have your observation number 5, you have your question of the week, and you also have your quiz. Next week I have some fun that I have for you as well. I'm going to be looking into incorporating some more websites to our work, some more virtual field trips as well, so you can explore using different tools that we have out there and try to make it as interactive as possible. But I want to thank you. Stay strong, stay healthy, and I wish you a successful week. Take care.